Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're going to be checking out the Summers. That's right, we got a new campaign ship, American Tier 7 destroyer. Here it is. Now this is actually a Tier 10 on the PC version, but it's been rebalanced for ours. In this video I'm going to be primarily comparing it to the Fletcher, which is the Tier 7 Tech Tree American destroyer. And we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to focus a lot on the builds in this video, and we're going to show two different builds. Alright, first off, some footage from the build that I'm going to mainly be advocating, which is a more gun-focused build. In my case, that involves Mordoff, Halloween Commander. Those of you that don't have them might be putting Halsey in there, or you could even run Burke. Now, I don't have a high-level Burke, so I'm not going to look too deeply into him, but a lot of you guys seem to prefer him now that he's got radio locator option in his slot 3 perk. So that'll be the first half of the video, and then the second half, we're going to be checking out a build that I think a lot of you guys will be tempted to look at. Gleaves, more torpedo focused. And why is that? Well, this is a much better performing ship in terms of torpedo action compared to the Fletcher. Okay, so we'll go over the ship to begin with, and then I'll kind of dive deep into the advantages of each build, and then I'll kind of make my case as we go along for the more gun-focused build. But basically, the Summers, I'll be comparing the stats with the Mordoff build on both of these. Better reload on the Fletcher, much better, 2.3 compared to 5.2 on the gunboat focused build Summers. Much better turret traverse, nearly halved, 5.6 compared to 10.3 on the Summers when we're looking at the Fletcher. And the damage per minute, outstanding. Fletcher's HE damage per minute, how much damage it could theoretically do if every shell landed and did full damage. That is top of the pack for Tier 7 destroyers. Summers under a gunboat focus would come in at 4th, and under a more torpedo focused build, it comes in middle of the pack, right around 7th place. Okay, so pretty good gun performance when we're focusing on speccing for the guns. Okay, now that's behind Fletcher, Akizuki, and then the Zhenyang, the Asian one. Okay, but you could also boost the DPM a little bit. I don't have the reload booster on here, the 4-slot mod on the ship. That's because the turret traverse is slowed down with that, and this is not the best turret traverse known to man already. So I'm not going to slow that down. I think turret traverse is more important than reload in terms of overall ship performance when it comes to the guns. So because the turret traverse is slow enough, I'm not going to increase that by cutting down the reload. You could if you want to. But overall, average gun performance on a torpedo spec build and above average, a pretty good gun performance when we're speccing for the guns. Torpedoes, though, this is what's going to set it apart from the Fletcher, who clearly is a much better gun platform. But here, we got 3x4 launchers as opposed to 2x5 on the Fletcher. So 2 extra torps per launch, slightly longer reload, 130 compared to 122 on these gunboat builds. You can actually get that to be better if we're running the Gleaves build. We'll look more at those numbers here in a moment. But the damage of these Summers torps, harder hitting than the Fletcher torps. You got 2 more of them. The speed, much better. 66 knots on these torps base compared to 55 base on the Fletcher. And range, 12 kilometers on these, 9.2 base on the Fletcher. So no matter what build you have, we're going to have much better torpedo performance on the Summers over the Fletcher.
Enemy destroyer foundered. Nice work. We've got enemy destroyer foundered. That's how it's done.
What?
Enemy destroyer foundered. Nice work. We've got enemy destroyer foundered. That's how it's done.
What?
Enemy destroyer foundered. Nice work. We've got enemy destroyer foundered. That's how it's done.
Okay, now what is torpedo speed conceptually? Basically increases your accuracy if you want to think about it kind of in an abstract manner. But basically, you launch the torps. How long does it take to get to the target? Well, that's dependent entirely on the speed of the torpedoes. And the longer those torpedoes take to get to the target, the more opportunity your opponent, your target of the torpedoes strike. They're either going to randomly change what they're doing or intentionally change what they're doing because they anticipate being hit by torpedoes. So they change speed, change direction. Okay. faster they get there, the less chance they have to do that. Okay, so basically, torpedo speed is an abstract way of saying torpedo accuracy. All right. So, and that's a dramatic boost in performance, basically a 20% boost in the torpedo performance just based on the speed alone, and the range makes them basically the most furthest reaching, at least on my builds, of all the tier 7 destroyers. So very good. Mobility of the boat, better speed on the Summers, better turning in terms of both radius and rudder shift on the Fletcher, slightly better detection on the Fletcher. So overall, two very good destroyers. The Fletcher's still going to be the top dog in terms of raw, can I beat him up with the guns, not factoring in other factors. Summers, though, okay, the torpedo performance much more improved. So why am I saying let's stick with the gun focused build on this ship? Well, it's because under the gun focused build, the gun performance is at the top of the pack, once again, top third or so, whereas the torpedo performance, unaltered, not bad. I mean, it's below average, but it's not horrendous. But you know, if we boost the torpedo performance, then we get it up to 131,000 damage per minute. That's kind of middle of the pack. Okay, so basically we're taking below average damage per minute performance with the torps, moving it into the middle of the pack, but then we're taking above average gun performance and taking that into the middle of the pack by focusing on torpedoes by using Gleaves. So rather than taking something you're outstanding on, you're kind of taking something that you're less than outstanding on and making that average, and then bringing down the strength of the ship. So that's kind of your options, at least, as you know, without really tweaking the builds, but just kind of on a basic level. Gleaves is going to be more average across the board, whereas a Mordov/Halsey is going to be still really good at the guns. And by the way, the torps are still much better than what you're used to on the Fletcher. So in my opinion, because of what the destroyers are designed to do in the game, which is capture bases, counter the enemy destroyers, spot for your team. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to hit some torpedo damage while you're at it, that's a bonus. That's my approach to the destroyers, and the tools that we get on the gun performing build on the Summers are better suited for that role. Okay, but that said, if you do want to explore a Gleaves build, and I'm sure a lot of people that are going to be running the Summers will be enticed by the strong torpedo performance, it's not going to be a bad build by any means. Okay, you can get these torpedoes up to 70 knots in the water using this build. The reload comes down quite a bit, which is going to boost the torpedo damage up to 131,000 once again, which is still, you know, it's not as good as Tashkent, Pablo, certainly the Udaloy, Udachi, you know, the Japanese, but it's all of a sudden better than Germans, you know, British, certain other destroyers along the way, the Asians. So yeah, I mean, you can make a good potent torpedo attack out of these things, and it's still a good boat either way. I mean, the guns still hit hard, but it's more reminiscent of say when you're fighting a Udachi or a Kagero. Like, those guns still hit pretty hard, they just reload slowly. That's kind of the same feel that I get playing this build with the Summers. Yeah, when you hit them, it's like, ooh, wow, I still whack that guy around, but I'm not shooting as quick as I would normally like to. So that's my take on that. But your reaction time with the Gleaves build as well, we should mention that. That's basically an off-game stat that you have to do a little bit of math to figure out. But what that signifies is how long the opponent has from when the torpedoes become visible on their screen to when they actually hit them. With the Gleaves build, we're going to have the same reaction time as like my gunboat Fletcher, but with a gunboat, you know, Mordov build on this Summers, then the reaction time is a little bit worse. So they actually have a little bit more time to react as well. So another boost or another feather in the cap of the Gleaves build if you're really trying to enhance the torpedoes, which once again isn't a bad way to do it. It's just kind of contrary to the approach that I would take. So overall, I think Summers is a very strong ship. It doesn't feel like a legendary tier ship to me. I think they did a pretty good job balancing it. Time will tell, though. I've only played, you know, probably about 7 or 8 games with this ship so far. Early impressions video. But overall, I like it quite a bit. So I think it's going to be a fun ship to play. Destroyer players will probably be into the campaign. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I am interested in hearing both from my own perspective, and I know a lot of you guys like to read the comments and get other people's input besides just me. That's kind of like making these videos a forum. Let me know and let the rest of us know what your thoughts are. What is your approach going to be with this? You're going to focus on the guns, focus on the torps. Maybe you got kind of off the beaten path ideas that you want to share with us. And we'll see if anyone's got some creative builds that might be worth checking out as well. But that's my thoughts on it, guys. So let me know in the comments below what you're thinking. If you did enjoy the video, though, please hit the thumbs up. It does help the channel quite a bit. And if you're new to the channel, you want to stay tuned for all the upcoming World of Warships Legends, go ahead and subscribe right now. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.